Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to talk about something many of you have asked about, the 1989 Jefferson nickel, its circulated value, and some interesting facts about this iconic coin. So, if you're a coin collector or just someone who has come across a 1989 Jefferson nickel in your pocket change, this video is for you. The Jefferson nickel, first introduced in 1938, is one of the most well-known coins in the United States. Designed by Felix Schlag, the 1989 Jefferson nickel marks an interesting year in the coin's history. So, what exactly makes the 1989 version worth talking about, and how much is it worth in circulated condition today? Let's start by looking at the coin itself. On the obverse of the coin, you have the profile of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States. On the reverse side, we see Monticello, Jefferson's home in Virginia. The design has remained largely unchanged since its introduction in 1938, with just a few adjustments over the years, particularly during the transition to the 5-cent coin you see today. Now, when it comes to the 1989 Jefferson nickel, you'll notice that it's part of the regular issue series, meaning it was minted for circulation just like all the other years. So, what's the deal with its value in circulated condition in 1989? The U.S. Mint produced billions of Jefferson nickels, and like most nickels from the late 20th century, the coin's value is mostly based on its melt value, or what it contains in terms of metal. As of today, the melt value of a 1989 Jefferson nickel is quite low, typically around 5 to 7 cents, since the coin is primarily made of a copper-nickel alloy. But here's the thing, when we talk about circulated value, we mean how much the coin is worth in day-to-day transactions, or its value as a piece of change you might find in your pocket. In most cases, a 1989 Jefferson nickel that's been in circulation will only be worth, well, 5 cents. That's right. The standard value of a nickel in circulation doesn't change unless the coin is in exceptional condition or is part of a special set. Here's an example of a typical circulated 1989 Jefferson nickel. You can see the wear and tear from years of use, which lowers its value beyond just the standard nickel amount. However, if you were to look at a well-preserved 1989 Jefferson nickel, it could be worth a little more, especially if it's in mint state or proof condition. Uncirculated condition, a 1989 Jefferson nickel can fetch anywhere from 10 to 25 cents, depending on the specific grade of the coin. If it's in proof condition, meaning it was specially struck for collectors, then the value can go up, but for regular circulation pieces, we're mostly looking at a few cents. Now, some of you might be wondering, what makes a 1989 Jefferson nickel different from others in terms of value? Well, while there aren't any significant errors or unique minting varieties in the 1989 issue, there are still a few things to keep an eye on. First, there are always the die varieties, where small changes in the minting process could lead to slight differences in the design or even errors, like a misaligned die or a double die. These are rare, but if you happen to find one, it could significantly increase the value of your coin. Look closely at your coin. You might find that the lettering is worn, or the details of Monticello are less sharp in a well-circulated coin. These are signs of a coin that's seen many years of use. But if you come across one that's in mint condition, with clear, sharp details and no scratches, you might have a hidden gem. Coin collectors love finding coins with historical value or specific characteristics, like lower mintage years or coins with unique flaws. While the 1989 Jefferson nickel isn't one of the rarest or most valuable in the series, it's still an interesting piece for anyone wanting to learn more about coin collecting. So, in summary, the 1989 Jefferson nickel is mostly worth its face value, *** 5 cents ***, if it's been in circulation. However, if you find one in mint or proof condition, it might be worth a little more, and if you're a coin collector, you may want to hold on to it. As with all coins, the key to knowing their value is condition. Coins that have been preserved well and are in pristine shape can be quite valuable to collectors. Whether you're just starting out or have been collecting for years, knowing how to grade your coins and spot rare mintages will give you. The Jefferson nickel was introduced in 1938 and has remained a staple of U.S. coinage since then, with only a few design changes throughout its history. The 1989 Jefferson nickel, as part of this long-running series, reflects both the coin's heritage and the subtle shifts in U.S. minting practices over the years. In 1938, the U.S. Mint replaced the Buffalo nickel, 1913 to 1938, with the Jefferson nickel, designed by Felix Schlag. The new coin was introduced in response to public demand for a more distinctly American theme. Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, was chosen as the subject, a decision that represented a strong link to the nation's founding ideals. The coin's reverse side features Monticello, Jefferson's estate in Virginia. By the time the 1989 Jefferson nickel was minted, the coin had already undergone some changes in design over the decades. The original design, with Jefferson's portrait and Monticello, remained largely unchanged until 1966 when the Mint modified the reverse to make the Monticello building more detailed. Additionally, the Mint began to consider changes to the coin's composition and design in the face of new economic challenges, such as inflation and the rising cost of metals used in coinage. The 1980s were marked by increasing concerns about coinage costs and the need for economic efficiency in minting. This led to a broader discussion on metal composition, as the U.S. Mint sought to reduce the expense of producing coins. In 1982, the U.S. Mint began experimenting with new compositions for the penny, and the same thoughts would eventually influence decisions on nickel production, although the 1989 Jefferson nickel still used the traditional 75% copper and 25% nickel alloy. The 1989 Jefferson nickel was minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, 4 proof sets. It was part of the standard yearly production of nickels, designed to circulate as part of everyday commerce. The design and overall composition of the coin remained consistent with the long-standing version introduced in 1938, with Jefferson's portrait on the obverse and Monticello on the reverse. While there were no major changes in the design or composition of the 1989 Jefferson nickel, it was part of a significant year for U.S. coinage as it marked the 100th anniversary of the Indian head cent. The Buffalo nickel was a key part of the design history leading to the Jefferson nickel's creation. As with other years in the late 1980s, the 1989 Jefferson nickel was minted in large quantities, primarily for general circulation. At this time, the nickel remained a vital part of everyday transactions. Millions of 1989 Jefferson nickels were released, and they were used in retail, vending machines, and day-to-day transactions for many years. It's also important to note that proof sets and special mint sets were produced in smaller quantities for collectors, which were sold separately from the general circulation coins. These proof versions were struck with more precision, yielding coins with sharper details and mirror-like finishes, appealing to collectors. By the time the 1989 Jefferson nickel entered the world of coin collecting, it had already been a part of the U.S. coinage system for over 50 years. While it wasn't considered a key date in the Jefferson nickel series, it still found its place among enthusiasts due to its historical significance. Though not highly sought after for its rarity, the 1989 coin holds value for those interested in the overall Jefferson nickel series, as it contributes to the story of U.S. coinage. Coins from the late 1980s are often collected as part of a set to represent the various stages of the Jefferson nickel's design evolution. While the 1989 Jefferson nickel may not have the same historical allure as the 1938 debut coin or the wartime silver nickels, it remains a part of U.S. coinage history. The ongoing debates around coinage composition and design changes, like those seen with the 2004 Westward Journey nickel series, show that the Jefferson nickel continues to evolve. For those with an eye on coin collecting, the 1989 version is an important representation of the coin's transition through the late 20th century. Introduction of the Jefferson nickel, designed by Felix Schlag. Design change on the reverse to emphasize Monticello with greater detail. Mint experiments with new metal compositions for coins, influencing later coin decisions. Minting of the 1989 Jefferson nickel, part of the ongoing production of regular issue coins. Introduction of the Westward Journey nickel series, marking a significant redesign. The 1989 Jefferson nickel may not stand out as a rare or particularly valuable coin, but it represents a steady chapter in the ongoing history of U.S. coinage. It holds a place in the broader narrative of Jefferson nickels and serves as a reminder of both the tradition and evolution of U.S. coins. Whether in your pocket change or as part of a larger collection, the 1989 Jefferson nickel continues to be a significant part of numismatic history. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 2002 Jefferson nickel, give this video a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more awesome coin collecting content.